obviously there's talking points with both of Portugal's goals today.
So, okay, well, first of all, I mean, putting on my Cristiano fanboy hat, he should have had 2 goals today, which would have taken him up into double figures in 19 games, because obviously he should have stayed on the pitch and he would have converted that penalty that Bruno scored, and obviously should have been given the first one. Now, look, realistically, I think Cristiano's at the stage where he knows that he's going to need to contribute in different ways to this team, if they're going to go far. And I think he's trying to do that. And as for the first goal, reality is I have absolutely no idea if Cristiano touched it. But even if he didn't, without Cristiano going across, I would imagine that the goalkeeper, at least has a better chance of getting there, right? So maybe we should. I mean, you can't avoid somebody a goal if they don't touch it, because that's just the way football is. But you should certainly get, I think, a lot of credit for the goal.
Yeah, there you go. So there you go. Everyone's happy now. Luis still had to get a little bit of a dig in and bring up other games, but it's all right. Not to worry, because you've been blocked anyway. So that's Portugal through, Brazil are through, France are through as well. All 3 have qualified for the knockout rounds. But Gab, we were wondering, what's been your favourite game so far in the World Cup? One that maybe you've been at, one that you've watched on the TV. What stands out to you when I ask you that question?
Well, I'm going to limit myself to the games I have actually been to. Just because you guys know this, being there in person, experiencing it is just different. So for me, I'm going to mention 2 games that stand out. One is watching Japan's rousing late comeback show to beat Germany. As you know, I'm a bit of a Japan fan, having lived there growing up. And the other one is that dramatic ending to the Wales-Iran game, with those 2 goals coming so late. The attempted decapitation, Wayne Hennessy on Mehdi Taremi, the edge that was in the game, the intensity, both these teams knowing that, they needed to win this game really to have a shot. It was just great drama and great fans as well. Just so respectful at the end. Again, the stereotype of Japanese fans cleaning up after themselves is a stereotype, but it's true. I've seen it. And it's funny because they clean up after themselves, but they don't actually make a big mess. So maybe it's actually, it's very simple and quick. But also a lot of the Wales fans after the game staying and applauding Iran and the Iran fans. For me, that's the other side. Are we going to encounter these teams again much later in the World Cup? Probably not, but that's why I'm talking about them now.
And that's the joy of the World Cup, isn't it? Getting to see all these teams in action too. You're loving a bit of that cleaning up after yourself from Japan as well, Luis. Are you like that?
Well,
do you clean up after yourself?
No, are you kidding? I'm Peruvian. I'm an absolute mess. No, my best friend, one of my best friends growing up in England is Japanese, and Gab's point is like on point. Like, yes, they clean up, but like he never really had anything to mess in the first place. So it took him like 5 seconds. Whereas like me on the other side, like it's just an absolute mess. I went to boarding school and his room was right next to mine. His room was impeccable. It's like a museum. It's like if like the teacher showed prospective students to come visit the school, they would use his room. Mine was like a Peruvian cave. So like it's completely different. So yes, I agree. My favorite match, by the way, is the Canada-Belgium one. And it's purely because I'm a romantic with these things. Like Canada, so naive in this tournament, but like so courageous. And they just went for it. And it was great to see, because Belgium were just like, what is happening? That to me was my favorite game.
Also, just before we go on to some of the picks from the tournament so far, let's just put a stop on the Portugal-Uruguay reaction, because I want to know, Gab, picking up from what Luis was saying, he's talking about how Fernando Santos is changing his mind somewhat, that he's adapting to this side and maybe taking things a little bit further than the things he was criticised for before. Is there anything you've seen from them in these first 2 games that has changed your mind in any way about them, or were you always on board the Portugal team this year?
No, I wasn't on board at all. I wasn't on board at all because, the reality is this is a dilemma in every sport, right? Do you put your best players out there, or do you put your most balanced team out there? And this is a team which has a glut of talent in certain positions, mainly attacking positions, and a manager who historically is not a particularly attack-oriented manager. So I always wondered, it takes a tremendous amount of sacrifice, not just from, we mentioned Cristiano, but Bernardo Silva, Bruno, all these guys, João Felix even, I'm not the biggest João Felix fan, but, these guys have to work harder to make it work. João Cancelo as well at the back. Now, obviously, with Nuno Mendes out, I'm assuming Guerreiro is gonna start the next game. Just imagine that back line where, poor Ruben Diaz. I have two of the most attacking fullbacks in the universe, and I have a 40-year-old man. And I got to somehow keep everything together, So I love this idea of a team coming together. In the end, it's the oldest cliche. We know that, right? So the 11 best players don't always make the best team, but it's equally, you want your difference makers out there. So it's finding that balance, which I find so fascinating, especially at a World Cup.
Yeah, this group is crazy, by the way, okay? Because now, obviously, Uruguay and Ghana, of course, it's all down to that game now, which is kind of amazing, given the history, of course, of what happened in a previous World Cup.
Yeah, just in case you're new to the World Cup for any reason, or you're a youngster watching this, it was a infamous handball in 2010, a very deliberate handball from Luis Suarez on the goal line that broke the hearts of the Ghanaian side. So there's a lot of history there. So can they get their revenge in this game? That's going to be interesting to see.
Thank you very much for watching ESPN FC on YouTube. For more highlights, analysis and exclusive content, be sure to subscribe.